water, earth, fire, air.
I am the lost avatar, keeping peace between the four nations. But when the world needed me most, I vanished. Though some say I continued to shadow over the four nations, my presence remained unnoticed. For this look, I decided to combine the shadow of the lost avatar with the peace it kept of the four nations. So to start off this makeup tutorial, I'm beginning by putting my hair back to keep it out of the way. Then using the NYX face primer, I'm going to be priming my face. And using a glue stick, I'm going to be gluing down my eyebrows so that they stay out of the way and don't mess up the makeup look. Next, we're going to focus on just one side of our face, and then we're going to do the black side after. So I'm applying the NYX White Foundation Lightener to the whole right side of my face, or actually left side of my face, but right to you guys. And then on top of that, I'm using the NYX White Eyeshadow Primer, and I'm also applying that pretty much all over my face and then blending that in again. And this will just help the eyeshadow stick better. And finally, to set it all, I'm just applying some white pressed powder. So moving on, I'm going to start with the water section on my forehead. And I'm doing this by creating 3 kind of S shapes or just squiggly lines with blue eyeshadow. And then using different eyeshadow colors, I'm coloring them in from the darkest blue to the lightest blue at the end. And I'm just trying to fade the colors into each other and really blend them out to make the waves stand out as much as possible. Then using a white jumbo eye pencil, I'm going to be going over my eyebrow and kind of making a swirl on the side to represent the white foam of the wave. Then using the NYX White Liquid Liner, I'm outlining the S shapes that we made earlier and kind of making the line thickest at the top and then get thinner towards the bottom. Also using that same liner, I'm tracing over the white foam part of the wave and kind of making a few squiggly lines and making it look a little choppy as if it really was white foam of a wave. Then I'm filling that in with the white liquid liner, and I'm also going back in towards the top of the waves and adding a few more details. And then I'm going back in and adding some dots, kind of like the splash of the wave. Next, using a silver liquid liner, I'm going to be using that to give the wave some shading. So I'm just kind of going over some of the white parts of the wave and adding some dimension and extra texture to them. And then using the NYX eyeshadow gloss, I'm applying that to the white parts of the wave to make it look shiny or wet almost, as if it were real water. Okay, so that's it for the water. Now moving on to the fire. So I'm using the NYX White Jumbo Eye Pencil on my lid to act as a base. I'm also dragging that down my cheeks just a little bit and making 3 kind of points with it and then just blend it all in. Taking yellow eyeshadow, I'm going to apply that on my lid. And then using an orange liquid liner, I'm going to be tracing out kind of a flame shape below my eye. And then staying within the lines of the flame shape, I'm blending the yellow that I already had on my lid to orange and then eventually to red at the end of the flames. Next, using a red liquid liner, I'm tracing my bottom lash line, and then I'm also tracing the edge of the flames. And then I'm drawing a line kind of coming from my crease down towards the middle of the first flame point. And then I'm creating another one from my lower lash line to the middle flame and one to the other side. Next, I'm taking some glitter primer so we can spice this up a little bit. And first I'm putting that on my entire lid, and then taking a smaller brush, I'm tracing the inside of the red flame border that we already did, and also adding it to the other red marks that we made on the inside of the flame. Then comes the glitter, and on my lid I'm using kind of a rustic color, and then for the rest of it I'm just using a really bright cherry red. Then using a white liquid liner, I'm tracing around the edge of the flame and going inside and adding some white to a few of the red parts to add dimension. Then using a black pencil liner, I'm tracing my waterline and my tight line. Then I'm adding mascara and some fun false lashes. But to spice up these lashes just a little more, I'm adding some glitter primer just to the edges of the lashes and then adding some of that rustic glitter to the edges of my top and bottom lashes. And this really makes your eyelashes pop. So moving on to the earth section, I'm going to be taking my NYX contour palette and contouring my cheekbones. Then using a gold pencil liner, I'm kind of tracing out rock shapes coming from my jawline and then going up towards my ear. And then I'm drawing a few more of those kind of towards where I put the contour, kind of as if the boulder or whatever this is broke off and they're separate pieces. Then I'm going back in to add dimension with a brown gel liner, and this just makes the rock shapes kind of stand out a little more. I'm also adding some concealer to add some highlights, and then a darker liner around the edges to add even more dimension and shading. Then using a black liquid liner, I'm adding that around the edges as well, and putting in a few little lines with the black liner to kind of show as if the rocks are cracking. And then finally, taking that same brown contour color, I'm shading around the rocks to add some more shading. And now finally for the air, I'm taking the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk and first outlining my lips and then drawing it out to create kind of a sideways teardrop shape. And I'm creating a few more smaller sideways teardrop shapes kind of around that whole area. And then using a silver liquid liner, I'm drawing out a spiral on one side of the teardrop shape and then tracing the other side, but kind of making the line a little bit wavy. And I'm doing that with all of the white shapes that I already drew on my face. Once you're done with that, you can add in some blue eyeshadow underneath each spiral. And then I'm also adding some silver eyeshadow around the spiral to add some more depth. Then finally we can trace the silver part that we did earlier with the silver liner with black so that it stands out a little more. Next, using the white liquid liner, I'm going back in and just adding some white marks around the spirals and inside the spirals. And then of course we can't be done until we glitify it. Is that a real word? But I'm just tracing some silver glitter around each spiral and kind of underneath a lot of the white marks. And then I decided the waves looked a little lonely, so I thought I should add some more glitter on the waves as well. So I did that, and once all of that was done, this whole side of my face is complete, and we can move on to the other side. Alright, so this side in my opinion is a lot easier. I'm just using some black face paint and literally painting the entire side of my face black. Which, just as a heads up, it's very difficult to get this off when you run out of makeup remover wipes, so make sure you have them before you paint your face black. So instead of just doing a straight line down the middle, I decided to make it look kind of as a side profile of a face. So it helps to look at someone's face sideways when you're doing this so that you can kind of see the outline that you want to make on your face. But as you can see, I kind of drew like a little bump for the forehead, and then I drew out the nose a little bit on the side, and it kind of came down, and I made two little bumps for the lips on my actual lips, and then created a little chin. And then you're also going to want to drag this down to the side of your neck, and once all that is blended in and painted black, I just decided to set that with some black eyeshadow. Then of course you gotta line your waterline with some black eyeliner. But for the eyelashes, I decided to use a light colored mascara, and I didn't have white, so I just used pink. And then using the white liquid liner, I covered the pink with that so you don't see the pink anymore and it just looks white. And I just thought that looked so cool because it made your eyelashes really stand out over the black shadow. But once you do that, your makeup is complete and you are officially the lost avatar of the 4 nations. My presence is now gone, but I can't leave mankind with nothing. Aang is your new avatar. He may need some practice, but he has potential. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you couldn't tell, I worked really hard on it. And the anime theme was definitely a challenge for me because I know absolutely nothing about anime, but I did my research, and hopefully you anime lovers out there can appreciate this video. And if you did and you think it deserves a spot in the top 12, then click the link in the description down below to vote 3 times every day.